Well, good morning. I encourage you to turn in your Bibles to Proverbs chapter 31. If you haven't noticed, the last couple of weeks we've been spending some time in Proverbs. We're going to continue to do some looking at different Proverbs. These were words of wisdom imparted, and we're going to continue to look at some of them. And this morning we're going to look at Proverbs chapter 31, beginning in verse 10 and going to the end of the chapter. It says this: "Wife of noble character, who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. She is like a merchant ship, bringing her food from afar. She gets up while it's still dark. She provides for her family and portions for her servant girls. She considers a field and buys it, and out of her earnings she plants a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her tasks. She sees that her trading is profitable, and her lamp does not go out at night. In her hand she holds the distaff and grasps the spindle with her fingers. She opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. When it snows, she has no fear for her household, for all of them are clothed in scarlet. She makes coverings for her bed. She is clothed in fine linen and purple. Her husband is respected at the city gate, where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies the merchants with sashes. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive, and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Give her the reward she has earned, and let her works bring her praise at the city gates." Let's pray. Lord, as we look at this passage, encourage us, motivate us, and help us to realize that these characteristics are important. In Jesus' name, amen. You know, for many, this is a very joyous day. Maybe there's a little bit of pampering, a day for a few brief moments maybe to be in the spotlight. Hopefully it's a day that you can maybe get a gift or a card. Maybe somebody can treat you to a meal at a restaurant or something like that to celebrate this day. But for others, we need to realize that this is a very difficult day, and going to a church service on Mother's Day can accentuate some pain in their life. This can be a difficult day for women who have prayed 1,000 prayers and have cried 1,000 tears and do not have children. This can be a difficult day for mothers who have lost their children, as well as children who have lost their mothers. This can be a difficult day for Christian women who have chosen, for one reason or another, to abandon a pregnancy and end a pregnancy, and they are haunted by the guilt and grief. And still others, it's a difficult day because sermons about mothers only seem to highlight feelings of inadequacy and a sense of failure. And that's not my goal today. We want to look at Proverbs 31. It's a classic passage describing what I would consider the ideal woman. It's a cross between Betty Crocker, Martha Stewart, and Mother Teresa, all wrapped up in one. But we need to be careful and acknowledge that this is a picture of a perfect woman. And in this proverb, we don't hear about any of her imperfections. There's a balance there. Jill Briscoe wrote in the preface of her book, Queen of Hearts, on this chapter of Proverbs, and about the overwhelming nature of this for women. And this is what she wrote. The Proverbs 31 woman has long stood as the Statue of Liberty at the harbor of the city of womanhood, welcoming all who flee from being anything less than perfect. But what happens if I have a run in my stockings? I'm sure they were all right when I left home. Consistently lose one of my husband's socks in the washing machine. Regularly misplace my car in the supermarket parking lot. I know it's blue, sir. It's blue. Is there any hope for me if I dream of writing a book about my small children called From Here to Insanity? And what happens if I'm shaped more like a pillow than a pillar? This passage is meant to be of encouragement, not discouragement. Please don't feel overwhelmed or depressed. We are all to reflect and be mirrors of Christ, and yet we fall very short of that goal and standard in life. That doesn't mean we shouldn't have the goal of becoming like Christ, but we have to realize that we're never going to be perfect. Likewise, women, this is a goal or a standard we could set. That doesn't mean that you're going to reach it all the time. So instead of being discouraged, look at this as an opportunity and a goal. C.S. Lewis put it this way: if we do not admire what is praiseworthy, we shall be stupid, insensible, and great losers. British have such a way with words. Now, with all that set up, let's look at some of the characteristics of this Christ-like woman that we should emulate. And even for us men, there are things that we can learn from this woman as well. Our passage is authored by a man. His name is King Lemuel, and there is nothing else known about him other than he wrote this chapter. He is sharing what his mother taught him. This is his mother's oracle. If we look in Proverbs 31:1, it says this: the sayings of King Lemuel, an oracle his mother taught him. So his wise mother provided this bit of wisdom. In these verses, he plainly distinguishes a godly woman from others by listing characteristics that we should strive for in our lives. So the very first characteristic or thing that we see is that godly women are valuable. Godly women have extreme worth. In Proverbs 31:10 through 12, the writer points out that a godly woman has a worth second to none and is unequal in her worth. King Lemuel begins by esteeming godly wives. He says in verse 10 this: who can find a wife of noble character? She is far more precious than jewels. Of everything else that can be said of this lady, she is, above all else, a woman of noble character. This word speaks of the idea of a wounded soldier who is rewarded and honored when he comes back from war. He's esteemed, noble, and a woman of high, noble character is a jewel, is precious. There's only one other passage in the Bible that describes a woman of being a noble character. It is in Ruth 3:11, and it says this: and now, my daughter, don't be afraid. I will do for you all you ask. All my fellow townsmen know that you are a woman of noble character. Now, I found this is interesting. In the Hebrew Bible, there's a different order of books, and Ruth follows Proverbs. As a practical example of the wisdom to follow. So that was just, that's a bonus point there, if you will, but it was interesting. See, Boaz is recognizing this trait in Ruth. And being of noble character is an essential trait, not only of women, but also of us as men. This is a core trait. Without it, none of the other traits can follow. This is the core. This is where it begins. And the woman who's described here in verse 10 is one who may not wear a badge or blow a horn, and yet her life speaks volumes by how she chooses to live it. And the key to this noble character is found later in this chapter in Proverbs 31:30. This is what it says. Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. That is the nugget of noble character here. A woman of noble character is a woman who fears the Lord. If we focus on the industrious woman's work, it's going to cloud out this crucial point. Because everything this woman does, all these characteristics, is based off this relationship that she has with God. Women who have this quality are valuable. A woman's relationship with God has extreme value to those who she comes in contact with. Her relationship with God affects every relationship and everything she does. So these actions are an outpouring of that relationship that she has with God. And as a result of this characteristic, she adds value to everything around her. In Proverbs 31:11-12, it says, her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. See, this characteristic builds trust with others. Trust in her confidence, trust in her character, trust in her conduct. In this case, the husband doesn't have to worry about his wife and how it will affect his reputation, his business, or if she's faithful to him. Abraham Lincoln expressed it this way when he said, "No one is poor who has a godly mother." We have a godly mother. They are valuable. They are worthful. A godly woman described here is a rare breed. And as a result, she will benefit and bless others all the days of her life. Women with noble character are valuable. The second thing we see about a godly woman is that they are hard workers. We see that. The author moves from this godly woman's unequaled worth to her unmatchless work. And he describes her in great detail and her labors. In Proverbs 31:13, it says this: she selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. Notice how the author says that this godly woman worked with eager hands. The original language says she works with pleasure and purpose. She does it delightfully, but she does it for a reason, with purpose. This woman is one who is so motivated that she does this work out of a desire, out of her own heart. There was no need to, if you will, prime the pump here. She was self-motivated and she was willingly serving because she wants to. It wasn't a matter of influence, but a matter of impulsion. It wasn't a matter of pride, but rather a matter of passion. She loves God and those whom God has entrusted to her, so she seeks to provide for them and please them. In Colossians 3, verses 23 and 24, it says this: whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for men, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. See, we serve God. And so we do things to please God. That is the purpose that drives a godly individual, whether a woman or a man, to work and do their best. It's to please God. To do it for God. And this woman had a relationship with God that affects her whole life. And this woman works because she wants to please God, and in turn, she pleases those around her. She desires to do the very best because she has love for God. Her worth is not simply managing a household or holding down a job. It's her relationship with God that is flowing in and through her. So she sacrifices herself for God by serving others. In Proverbs 31:15, it says this: she gets up while it's still dark. She provides food for her family and portions for her servant girl. This is the same kind of idea that Jesus talked about in Luke 6:31. Jesus said this: do to others as you would have them do to you. That's the golden rule. And it's the same thing that this godly woman possessed. Who doesn't like someone giving us their very best to benefit us? We all do. And this woman works hard for the benefit of others. And if we desire that, we should also do that for others. We should try to benefit others. Because if we would desire it, they would desire it. So why not share that? And share that love. A godly woman is valuable. A godly woman is a hard worker, and godly women are wise. We move to one of the other beautiful and wonderful traits of this godly woman. She not only has worth that's unequal and a work that is unmatched, but she has wisdom that is unframed. It's pure, sincere, and true wisdom. Proverbs 31:26 says this: she speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. Here we're told that her mouth is filled with wisdom, and there is wisdom in what she speaks and says. She may not speak much, but when she does, you can bet that there's a nugget of truth found in it. She speaks words of truth. She helps others. And she provides words of wisdom. G. Campbell Morgan was a famous pastor. He had 4 sons who became preachers as well. And a friend of the family came to visit G. Campbell Morgan and his family, and they were all in the family room talking, and one of the boys was in the family room, and this friend asked the boy, "So who's the greatest preacher in your family?" The boy had great admiration for his dad, and while glancing over his dad, the boy exclaimed, "Mom, our mother is the greatest preacher in our family." Not only does a godly woman display wisdom in what she speaks, but it also says what she doesn't do, what she shuns. In Proverbs 31:27, it says, she watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. See, this woman is setting priorities and parameters and goals so that she can tend to the tasks that she has in her life. She also needs to make sure that she doesn't waste her time and opportunities that she has. Now, that doesn't mean that a godly woman needs to be working all the time and not take a downtime. What this is saying, she knows how to set priorities, goals, and boundaries and get her work done because she's self-motivated. She doesn't frivolously waste her time. She took advantage of it. This chapter concludes by giving a glimpse of the rewards that await a person of noble character. Proverbs 28 through 31 says this. Her children arise and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Give her the reward she deserves, or has earned, and let her work bring her praise at the city gates. See, a godly woman, her family is going to recognize her value and will reward her with giving her blessings. Children, we need to give blessings to our mothers. Husbands, we need to praise our wives because they are a precious jewel. Notice who also gets praised for this woman. God. Notice that? Everything points back to God here in this passage. The woman does these remarkable things. Why? Because she has this relationship with God. And because she has this relationship with God, God gets the recognition and the praise of others. It's what it says at the last verse. But the woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Give her the reward yours, and let her work bring her praise in the city. But it's God that gets the praise here. All the way through. It's God. Let us not forget that. As we celebrate and remember our mothers on this special day, may we realize that they are a precious treasure. Some say rubies, some say jewels. Some prefer chocolate and roses. It depends on who you are. But mothers, you are valuable. You are valuable. You're worthful. In fact, when you leave this morning, we'd love to give you, the youth would love to give you a carnation. Just to say thank you for being a mom. Just for that. But it all begins with a relationship with God. And having that relationship with God will affect your life. Motivate you to do things that will help others. A person that fears the Lord will not only make a difference in this world, but they will impact the world in which they live, like this godly woman did. May we not forget that. Let's pray. Lord, as we look at Proverbs 31, a lot of times we can feel guilty that we don't do certain things. And as a man, there are a lot of things I don't do that I should do as well. And one of them is praising my wife and giving her the respect and honor. She is valuable. May we remember that. May we remember the value of the women in our lives. May we appreciate that. May we recognize their hard work. All the things they do, not for their benefit, for the benefit of the house, for the benefit of us. May we as men likewise show that to others as well. May we work for the benefit of others, not for our reputations, but for your glory, serving you wholeheartedly. May you be our purpose. May you be our motivation in all we say and do. And may we be of noble character because we fear you. We have awe and respect, and we have that relationship with you. As we go through this day, May our lives affect the world around us because of the relationship and how you have made a difference in our lives. And may we honor the mothers and wives in our lives. In Jesus' name, amen.